WATD presents John Paul, the Car Doctor. All things automotive. Have questions? Call or text 781-837-4900. Now, here's John Paul, the Car Doctor.
Well, good Sunday morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. Well, you're out there car shopping and you wonder what to do, and you're kind of looking around, and it's you work hard for your money, so you want to try to get the best car for your money. And with us back again is John Vincent. He's the senior editor and correspondent of vehicle testing at US News and World Report. John, good morning and welcome back to the Car Doctor program.
I forgot to mention that the phones have been very screwy today. I'll see if I can figure this out a different way.
All right. Well, it sounds like the phones have been a little wacky. So maybe because we're encouraging people to text. Maybe that's it.
Okay, I can tell you it's not that. Definitely not that. I don't know. This is going to be a screwy one. I'll get to the bottom of this and get back to you.
All right. Okay. All right. So in the meantime, I guess, it's probably just as good a time as any to talk about the car that got me around this week, which I think is a pretty good car for the money, and that is the Kia Niro Hybrid. It's a compact hybrid, and it's really, I think, it really just shows Kia as just one more compelling option when you're out car buying, especially the compact hybrid segment. It's got a really stylish design, impressive fuel economy, host of standard features. I think it's a really good choice, if you're an eco-conscious driver or just somebody who wants to get decent gas mileage. So it's good. You don't want to sacrifice practicality and aesthetics. So let's get into it. Let's take a look at it. The exterior features sharp lines, a sleek profile, distinctive front grille that gives a modern look. The LED headlights and taillights are also make it kind of stand out in the crowd. It offers a design that's both functional and eye-catching. Inside, the 2025 Niro Hybrid impresses with its spaciousness. It feels a lot bigger inside than it really is. It's a small car, but it feels big, at least in the front seat. Back seat, a little tidy, but, front seat feels pretty comfortable. The materials feel premium. This was the top-of-the-line model, so it does have that nicer interior, soft-touch surfaces. Kia says they're eco-friendly materials. I don't know. Maybe they are. I don't know. The seats are comfortable and supportive. I actually found the seats really quite comfortable, making it a great choice for both city commutes and longer road trips. The dashboard's dominated by a not always, at least with me, user-friendly dual-screen setup. It features a 10.25-inch digital instrument cluster and a 10.25-inch touchscreen infotainment. The system supports wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. That's kind of a nice thing. But overall, I found it a little frustrating to use. Kept going back to the home screen all the time. Changing radio channels was a little... It was quick the way it worked. I miss knobs. That's all there is to it. The Niro Hybrid is powered by a 1.6-liter four-cylinder engine. It's paired with an electric motor. Delivers a combination of power that's 139 horsepower, which doesn't sound great, but it works really well in this. So certainly not the most powerful hybrid in its class. But fuel economy, EPA estimates 53 miles per gallon in the city, 45 on the highway. I've been up over 50 in just about all the kind of driving I do. In sport mode, in spite of its low horsepower, it actually does feel quite peppy if you're driving around. I drive around in eco mode most of the time. Why not maximize fuel economy? The driving experience is smooth and composed. The hybrid system seamlessly transitions between electric and gas. If it wasn't for the tachometer, you probably wouldn't notice when the gasoline engine wasn't running. It handles well. Zipping through traffic was good. Light steering, easy to park, tight turning radius. Park in little tight spaces, nice and easy to do. I think it offers enough pep for everyday driving. It's not a hot rod by any means, but it's certainly fine. Like many cars today, the Niro Hybrid has an impressive array of standard tech and safety features. The base LX trim comes with forward collision warning, lane keeping assistant, adaptive cruise control, rear view camera, higher trim, adds features like blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, surround view camera. The Niro Hybrid also offers about 23 cubic feet of cargo space behind the rear seats. It expands to 63 cubic feet with the seats folded, so it's a little tight with all the seats in use. Fold it down, it's close to mid-size SUV category. So if you're somebody who doesn't need to carry a lot of stuff with a lot of people, fold down the seats. You got plenty of room. You can those trips to the big box stores to buy those big boxes will fit right in there with no problem. The rear seats are spacious enough for adults. Do you want to be in the back seat for 10 hours? Probably not. But, if you're taking another couple to dinner, you're bringing your kids to school, plenty comfortable for that. Overall, the layout's practical, I think, for people who need the extra storage. There's no spare tire, which most hybrids and all-electric cars don't have spare tires. There's a few hybrids that do, but most of them don't because there's no room to put everything. Although it looks like one could fit there. It looks like you could get one to fit in the well. It would have to be a compact spare, but it looks like it could fit in there. The Niro Hybrid comes in 3 trim levels, EX and the SX Touring, which is the subject of our road test, and the base model. The base starts at around, I looked it up, around $28,000. Ours fully loaded was a little bit over $36,000, but that included premium features like the Harman Kardon sound system, good-sized sunroof, and the advanced driver assistance features. I would, call the 2025 Kia Niro Hybrid a well-rounded, compact SUV that delivers on fuel economy, fuel efficiency, style, and value. Not the most powerful or spacious in its class, but its combination of features, fuel economy, and affordability make it a standout in the hybrid market. If you're in the market for a practical and eco-friendly vehicle, the Niro Hybrid deserves a spot on your short list of vehicles. So, Jesse, how'd we do?
Well, I just climbed underneath and unplugged a bunch of things and plugged it back in, so hopefully it's good now. Let's check and see.
John Vincent, are you there after Jesse went climbing under the board and plugged things in and unplugged them?
Give me one more minute here. Now I got to reboot this system. Sorry.
Oh. Well, I don't know. I think, one of Jesse's other jobs is he's a co-host of Hometown Ghost Stories. And it's a extremely popular podcast, and it's on YouTube too. And I think maybe Hometown Ghost Stories needs to do an episode on the haunting of WATD Studios.
At this point, I think so. All right, let's try this out. Let's see if he's on.
Okay. So after the haunted ghost story of WATD Studios, let's see if John Vincent is with us. Mr. Vincent, are you there?
I am here.
Ah, fantastic. It was a little shaky there for a while. Apparently, super producer Jesse had to climb under the board, unplug a bunch of things, plug things back in, kick things, curse a little bit, but the phone seemed to work now. So we're
okay. As long as there didn't need to be an exorcism involved or anything like that, we're good.
Jesse, exorcism involved?
No, that was my last step.
That was the last step. Good. Okay.
We didn't have to get there. Yeah.
Earlier on, I said, cars have gotten expensive. It takes it. When you work hard to try to save up your money to buy a car, you want the best car for your money. And like many times, your publication, U.S. News and World Report, do a lot of different categorizations of things, and you came out with the 2025 best cars for the money. Can you tell us about that?
So we know that when it comes to buying a car, it's not all about getting the cheapest car, because you're not going to get a good deal unless you're getting a good car. So for the best cars for the money awards, we look at not just the price of the car, but its overall ranking amongst the general car market, cost of ownership over 5 years, perceived quality, and predicted reliability using data from some of our sources. We don't just guess at what we think are the best cars for the money. We actually do this all with research.
And, when we look at all of this research and things that we look at, you brought up a good point. The lowest price is not always the best value. And that's one of the things that, some people, and I'm, I guess, credited with that in some cases where my cheapness gets in the way of making the right decision. And sometimes, trying to go out and buy the most inexpensive of something kind of comes back to haunt you a little bit. And I noticed a lot of the winners here all start with an H.
Yes, they do. And they consistently do from year to year.
Well, let's kind of go through them a little bit. Let's talk about, Jesse was manipulating the board. I was talking about the Kia Niro hybrid, but your best hybrid car was the Hyundai Elantra hybrid.
It was. It actually has a lot of components in common with the Niro hybrid, but the Elantra hybrid scores a little higher in our rankings and has a great feature set, has tons of room for a compact car. It competes against, the heavy hitters. It competes against the Prius and the Civic hybrid now. But, with its value, it comes out on top.
Yeah, and I think the Elantra is always, when the Elantra came out decades ago, it seems like now, it was sort of a, everybody sort of looked at it and went, well, yeah. And then as people started to appreciate it, and as the engineering has changed and it's gotten more reliable, and it's gotten bigger, like all compact cars today, they seem to have gotten bigger. And, if you haven't bought a car in 20 years, the Elantra would seem almost like in the size of an old-time Camry.
Absolutely.
It has gotten bigger and more comfortable. Compact cars that are not hybrids, the Honda Civic, which, again, is one of those cars that, Honda reliability. It's just something that always stands out, right?
The Civic could have won this award in 1973. It is kind of the icon for rock-solid, affordable, small cars.
I remember when Honda changed the front suspension setup and people thought it just ruined the car, and all it did was seem to get better and better over the years. And Honda reliability is always good, and it was also nice to see the Honda Accord as the best midsize car.
Yep, the Accord's been around forever too. I really like the Accord. I've owned many of them. The new one's bigger and better and probably the best Accord we've ever had.
And that's a competitive class because you have cars like the Hyundai Sonata, the Toyota Camry. That's a very competitive sedan class in an area where, sedans in some people's minds are not that popular anymore.
Right. There are many, or there's, not that much competition in terms of number of options in that class anymore. Malibu's gone, Fusion's gone. But those vehicles that are still there are all really good.
And I think that really, you sort of look at that, you for people that are looking for a solid sedan, and the three you mentioned, whether it's the Sonata or the Camry, all of those are solid choices. I have to think it was a pretty tight race at the top for the winner in that category.
Absolutely, it was.
And I was happy to see, and maybe this is weirdly selfish of me, I was happy to see that the Honda Odyssey won the best minivan and not the Volkswagen new bus thing.
I would agree with you on that. I like the ID Buzz in a lot of ways, but it's expensive and its range isn't good enough for what it needs to be doing. But the Odyssey is kind of the heart of the minivan market. It doesn't have all the features of, say, the Sienna or even the Kia Carnival now, but it does everything well, and it's proven to be a reliable choice in that segment.
Yeah, and again, kind of, it looks like anything with an H dominated the awards here, and one of my favorite two-row SUVs is the Honda Passport. Kind of an older name that Honda's been using, but it's just a solid vehicle. It's for people who don't need the third row, which for adults isn't all that comfortable anyway in most three-row SUVs. But the Passport just a solid performer, right?
Absolutely, and the Passport is right at the end of its current product cycle. We get a new Passport for 2026. And what happens in a lot of cases is the quality gets better and better through the life cycle. So buying a car in its last year is an excellent choice because you're liable to get the most reliable version of that model.
Yeah, there's, in fact, someone just sent me an email this morning. They were looking at different models of vehicles, and they read about how next year Subaru's Crosstrek's going to come out with a hybrid, but they're a little bit afraid of buying a hybrid in the first year. And there is truth to that first year of a little bit of on-the-road development.
Yeah, with the Subaru, though, they've had that hybrid system out in other cars for a couple of years. So the system is getting more proven. They're just putting it in more and more models.
Right, absolutely. And one of my favorite little vehicles, and I see them everywhere doing all kinds of things, is the Kia Soul.
Yes, the Kia Soul. That's it's like the Timex watch of subcompact cars. It just keeps going and going and going. It's a little tiny box that feels bigger on the inside than it looks on the outside.
And it's you see them you see plumbers using them, electricians using them. You see flower delivery. You see, grandparents with their grandkids in the back of them. You see people with bicycles on the roof. It seems to be sort of the Swiss Army knife of little small SUVs that don't need to be all-wheel drive.
Exactly, and it's super affordable. It's in the 20s to start, which, there aren't that many cars in the 20,000 range anymore.
Well, that's a good point. I think I read, and maybe it was in your article, the average new car price is $48,000 or $49,000, and SUV prices are over like $51,000 or $52,000, right?
Exactly. Yep. People have been buying bigger and bigger and more expensive cars, and it's brought that average up.
Sort of off the topic a little bit, but do you think at some point the overall pricing and sticker shock is going to have to be reevaluated a little bit, where people are going to be looking at, they're just too expensive these days?
I hope so, and I think what's going to bring the average down is when gas prices go up a little bit and trucks start to, lose their luster a little bit. People will start looking and thinking, do I really need a full-size truck? Do I really need a big body-on-frame SUV or a $70,000 three-row SUV? Can I get something that, is a little cheaper? I don't have to take a massive car loan out to buy the car because, car loan debt is going to crush some people over the next few years, and it's going to be really tough to see.
Especially where banks are lending for, it wasn't all that many years ago. A 5-year loan was sort of something almost unheard of, and now we're seeing 7-year loans on kind of normal vehicles, not luxury cars. So I think you're right. As people start to look at all of these prices, and they're really going to start to say, do I really need all of this technology? Do I need all of this function in a car that at the end of the day, I'm just going to the grocery store?
Right. American car buyers buy the car that we think we might need someday. We don't need the car that we buy, or we don't buy the car that we need every day. So, people buy a lot of Jeep Wranglers because they imagine themselves, heading off into the wilderness, but nobody does that. So, until we can, normalize our mindset a little bit for what we really do, it's going to be hard to overcome that aspiration.
So that old time thing, I need a vehicle big enough to put a 4x8 sheet of plywood in, even though I have no need for a 4x8 sheet of plywood?
Yeah, exactly. I need the 7-passenger SUV because I have one kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of three-row SUVs, it's sort of everyone's darling made the top of your list, the Kia Telluride.
The Kia Telluride has a ton of room in it, and that's good because it can carry all the trophies it's gotten over the years.
I know. Good point.
It is a great vehicle. That's one of those cars that you hop in, and in 5 minutes you just think, this car is great. And that's how it was the first time I jumped in a Telluride, and even the most recent one I drove. It was like, this vehicle still has it.
Yeah, it still does, considering it really hasn't. Has it really changed that much since it came out? I don't think it's. It's still basically the same engine, the same transmission. Maybe they tweaked the suspension a little bit, but yeah, you get in, it still feels very current.
It does. They did a refresh a couple of years ago, and but it was a pretty minor refresh.
And because we talked about putting 4x8 sheets of plywood in something, people still, even though we just talked about it, people still buy a lot of trucks. I look out the window here and I think, 3 of my neighbors have pickup trucks.
Pickup trucks are insanely popular in the United States. We are the pickup truck capital of the world.
And the mid-size pickup, which frankly is bigger than an old-timey full-size truck, I think. Toyota Tacoma still just stands out, doesn't it?
It does. It was new last year. It has Toyota's great reputation for quality. It is a little more expensive than some of its rivals out there, but it's a Toyota, and if you're looking for a truck that you're going to be driving in 10 years, you can't go wrong with buying a Toyota.
Yeah. And in the full-size pickup truck category, the Ram 1500, and there's quite a few 1500 variants of the Ram, so people kind of get every flavor they want, it seems like. But really a truck that rides like a car.
Exactly. It has a more sophisticated suspension than just about anybody out there. It has the nicest cab in the industry. And for this year, it has a new engine family. They've dumped the big old Hemi V8s, and now they're all inline sixes. And that inline six is wonderful. It is the most refined engine you'll find in a pickup truck.
Yeah, you just can't say it's got a Hemi anymore, though. Which they marketed that so hard 10 years ago. It was kind of funny to see the Hemi go away. But fuel economy, emissions, make things change. But it is you're when you look at the interior of that truck and you look at how it rides and I think even the overall stance of the truck, it looks like a truck, but it looks like a truck that was well thought out in design and function, and it just seems to work.
Pickup trucks, they are like the laboratory for making functional vehicles. You look at the Ford F-150 with its built-in desk, the Chevys, they all are kind of like, more than any other vehicle, the engineers of those trucks look at how they're being used and create features that make it easier to use. But the Ram, it has great infotainment. It just does everything right.
Yeah, I remember years ago, before it was Ram, when it was still Dodge trucks, and they were building, I don't know, maybe the design center in Auburn Hills, and the engineer and design folks actually went around the construction site to see how people were using their trucks, and they were surprised that, well, this truck has cup holders, but people are putting their cups over here because the cup holder doesn't make sense. Wait a minute, contractors have laptop computers. Let's put a big enough center console in it where somebody could put their laptop in it. And they really sort of looked at how the vehicles were actually being used, which I guess somewhat surprising that wasn't always the case.
The last few years, we've seen a lot of really innovative tailgates. I mean, nobody ever looked at tailgates before. It was just, you had a tailgate. Yeah. Now, GMC and Chevy have this multifunction tailgate that you can turn into a staircase. And I got to say, I have bad knees. I can use that staircase to get up into the bed to do what I need to do in the bed of that pickup truck, because you can't reach over into the side of them anymore. They're too big. So you need to have a good access to the bed.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Tailgates were just to keep the stuff in the back from falling out, and now they have built-in rulers, and they open and close in 3 different ways. And like you said, they can be used as a desk, they can be used as a work surface, they can be used as sawhorses. They and then wait, let's put a 110 volt plug in the back, or depending on the vehicle, 240 volt plug in the back. So all of a sudden now that truck bed and the tailgate become true work surfaces.
Absolutely. And they're great for camping, too, because they're much more versatile than just a bed.
Yeah, exactly. So when we kind of look at all these things, and again, you guys don't just kind of guess at things. You look at the 5-year cost of ownership and look at the average price, people pay for vehicles, and you come up, you and your team kind of, I don't know, use some magic algorithm to come up with these, but these are picks that people can really count on because of the amount of work you guys did putting all of this together.
I work with very, very smart researchers. U.S. News bases everything on the numbers, and we don't just guess.
Well, it always makes sense not to guess. Before we let you go, and you're always out there looking at different things, is there any one vehicle that you have driven recently that surprised you, either good or bad?
Yes. I was really surprised how much I love the new Dodge Charger Daytona EV. It makes absolutely no sense on paper. When you read that it has, it has a subwoofer in the back bumper to make it sound like it has an engine. Sounds like a dumb gimmick, but oh my gosh, I went to the first drive event of that, and you watch 20 seasoned automotive journalists go out to the parking lot and get giddy as they're revving the electric cars. I can't explain why, but it's just really, really cool.
Well, if it makes people happy, it's a good thing. So, and I really do like the idea that they didn't build an electric car that happened to be a performance car. They built a performance car that just happens to be electric.
Yes, and it does perform. It performs really well.
Yeah, it really does. Well, John, it's always a pleasure having you join us. And if people want more information, just go to usnews.com and the cars section, right?
Exactly. Just go to usnews.com and click on the Cars tab.
John, always a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for taking a little time out of your Sunday morning and joining us on the Car Doctor program.
Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. Why don't we take a break, pay some bills? My name's John Paul. This is the Car Doctor program. If you would like to join us, our phone number is 781-837-4900, or if you want to text us, maybe, 781-837-4900, and we'll see about the phone system and see how it's working. Also, and we'll figure out maybe after the next break, last week when we had the folks on from the artificial intelligence car tool, well, they told us we could give one away. So the Sparq tool, we will give one away this program. So we'll do that. When we come back, kind of an update on some tools, kind of an update on the Volkswagen, my personal Volkswagen repair, see how that went. And have you gotten advertisements like I have? It seems like every 3 hours in my email or on social media, night vision glasses. Well, that's come up a lot lately. So we'll talk about all of that when we come back. My name is John Paul. This is the Car Doctor program. You're listening on 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
Step back in time and meet one of history's greatest minds. On Sunday, February 16th at 2 p.m., the James Library and Center for the Arts presents The Adventures of Benjamin Franklin, an original, interactive, one-man show starring award-winning actor, playwright, and historian J.T. Turner. Explore the life of the printer, scientist, inventor, author, and patriot who shaped a nation. Through humor, history, and captivating storytelling, Franklin's incredible journey comes alive. Tickets are just $20 for general admission and $10 for students. Thanks to a generous grant from the Cordelia Family Foundation, a limited number of free tickets for seniors are also available. This event is proudly sponsored by the Edward and Estelle Mosher Memorial Fund, the Bob Malone team at Radius Financial Group, and the Hingham, Norwell, and Scituate Cultural Councils, with support from the Massachusetts Cultural Council. Don't miss this unforgettable performance. Seating is limited. Register now at jameslibrary.org. And don't forget, keep your car in tip-top shape at Joseph's Garage. Have your oil changed, tires checked, get an inspection sticker, or just gas at Joseph's Garage, right down the street from the James in Norwell. Joseph's Garage now offers Gulf Pay at their pumps.
Even car geeks and do-it-yourselfers rely on AAA to give them extra peace of mind on the road. AAA offers 24/7 roadside assistance, whether you're in your own vehicle, a friend's car, or even a rental. Combine that with great rates on insurance, hotel, gas, and dining savings, and discounts on 8,700 brands, and you're covered on and off the road. Get a special membership offer today at aaa.com/join. That's aaa.com/join.
Won't you step into the light?
Hi, I'm Dan Chauvin. Step into the light and tune into Twilight Showcase Radio, hosted by Sandy Stride and Keith James on 95.9 WATD and 95.9 WATD.com. Search for Twilight Showcase on Facebook and visit twilightshowcase.org.
Twilight Showcase, tonight from 8 to 10 on 95.9 WATD. Honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. He's John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD.
Well, that was interesting. I mean, it is true. I did get a Lifetime Achievement Award. Thanks for Rob for bringing that up. Since we have a little bit of a new update on new opening and all that sort of stuff. Okay. I've been talking about my wife's Volkswagen that had every light on the dash on. So it had the ABS light on, it had the steering angle sensor light on, it had traction control, passenger side airbag. What else was on? Something else. Something that was... low tire pressure light was flashing. So essentially every warning light except the check engine light and probably just in like the regular engine oil, oil temperature, all that stuff. But every other thing was on. And I sat looking at the wiring diagrams and said, well, all of these various modules have to run off the same circuit. And like many cars today, it uses what's called a CAN network. And there's a high-speed CAN and a low-speed voltage. And basically what it is, it looks like old-timey telephone wires. It looks like twisted pairs of wires, and that's the CAN network. And what it is these modules all talk to each other without having to go through another central computer. And, it could be a module that's bad, could be, mice ate the wires, any number of things could be that. So I spent some time looking at the wiring diagram. Volkswagen did run, basically they all had the same ground wire or some version of the same ground wire. And they all grounded to two different studs that were, in Volkswagen's wisdom, they put them behind the passenger side kick panel, down on the floor, under some carpet. So not the easiest place to find. And this car was involved in, some high water here in Florida because that's where it sat. So I was pretty convinced, bad rusty ground wire could be the issue. And took it apart, nothing. Everything was fine, checked it with a voltmeter, looked for voltage drop on the ground, everything was good. So out for another road test in the car and had my wife driving. And I had my scan tool, and I was looking at wheel speed sensors, and the wheel speed sensor for the right front, I saw it drop out for just a second. But typically it was showing 28 miles an hour. All four were all the same. But I'm like, well, I'll take a chance. I'll take a chance and buy a wheel speed sensor. And the wheel speed sensor is what happens is on most cars, there's 4 wheel speed sensors. They all have sort of a thing that looks like a gear that the sensor measures impulses and knows how fast the car's going and knows which wheel is turning. And it can affect all kinds of different things. So I went online and, well, I looked at the Volkswagen part, which was almost $200. I went to Rock Auto, which I use their website more than I actually use it sometimes to buy stuff. But I looked and I found a company that makes ABS brake components for many European vehicles. So I'm like, I'll take a chance with that. It was $26 or something. And I knew that things were not going to go well because rust is a terrible thing. And this sensor sits in the hub, and I soaked it with penetrating oil. I was pleased that the Torx bolt that held it in place actually came out and didn't break. That was a good thing. Had the car jacked up, both wheels off the ground so I could move the tires back and forth. Wiggled it around, and of course it broke off right flush with the hub because it was all rusty. And it was rustier than I thought it was going to be, but I did not rust-proof the hubs when I tried to rust-proof the car a few years ago. I probably should have. And so I have gotten pretty lucky with things like Chrysler especially has plastic dipstick handles, and they break off. They actually freeze up inside the tube. And what you can do is you can take a sheetrock screw, heat it up red hot, stuff it in there, and the plastic all melts around it, and you can use that to pull out the piece. I was like, well, I'll give that a try on this. And so I decided to. And after wiggling, shaking, the screw snapped off in the sensor. So then I decided to try to drill some small holes. Drill bit caught the sheetrock screw, so it broke. So I drilled bigger holes. Finally got all the drill bit piece out, the sheetrock piece out. By then it had loosened up the plastic piece enough. I used a really good pair of needle nose pliers, got down in there. I was able to pull the broken piece out. Fortunately, none of my drilling and tapping and banging, any of those pieces fell into where the hub is, so no bearing issues, things like that. So put the new sensor in, all the lights went out. So I'm calling it fixed. The one thing I can't figure out is why the airbag light was on, and it is no longer on. I cleared all the codes, and all I can imagine is that sensor acting up was bringing the CAN network down, and that was causing all the wacky lights to come on. But as I was going through all of this, I decided, well, I can't really get in there. I'm going to have to take the caliper bracket off. The caliper bracket's held on with probably a 24 millimeter size head of a bolt. Well, I didn't have that. I had a 15/16 socket, which I jammed on there. Couldn't budge it. So I took out my little WORX impact gun and hammered on it with that, and it actually spun the bolts out so I could get the caliper frame off, so I could get the rotor off, so I could get in there a little bit easier. So I was very happy to have the WORX impact gun. And then my neighbor has a Toyota pickup truck. Rear sway bar bushings went bad on it. And he had a long-handled ratchet. He couldn't quite get enough leverage on it to get these big bolts out that hold the rear sway bar links in place, and went over there with the WORX impact, the mega one, which my critique of it was it's heavy. It weighs about 9 pounds, but jammed it in there, hammered on these rusty bolts, and backed them right out. And my neighbor's a pretty strong guy, and he was more afraid that he would break his ratchet and not have his local Snap-on guy to be able to replace it. He owns a shop, and so he didn't want to do that. And he was very happy this WORX Impact Mega High Torque Impact Wrench did its job. And then my neighbors were working on a community dock, and there were these 7/8 nuts or 3/4 inch nuts that were holding some of the dock together, and they were sort of rusty stainless steel. Went over with the impact gun, rattled them all off. So I was very happy to have the WORX stuff doing everything it's supposed to do. If you're looking at an impact gun, look at the WORX ones. They did all the jobs for me this week, and I was happy to have them. Our phone number again, 781-837-4900, which is also the text number. If you want to send a text, send it along. But let's talk to John in Norwood. John, good morning. John?
John, can you hear me?
I can. There you are.
Great. I have a question. For a while now, I've had like kind of a creaking sound from the underside of the car. It's a 99 Maxima. And the mechanic in the past said he thought it was exhaust system rubbing somewhere. And it hasn't really changed too much. Hasn't gone away, but it hasn't gotten worse. But I took it in for an inspection on Friday, and after I get the car back, now I hear more of like a crunching, popping noise. Mostly when I'm turning the wheel, I think. But what do they actually do in a safety inspection? And do they like put a car up on a lift? Could they really do anything that would?
No, but they jack it up. So maybe jacking the car up to check the ball joints, tie rod ends, looseness in the steering, kind of rearrange something a little bit that caused it to crunch and make noise. Now, does the noise seem to be coming from the front or the back?
Oh, the front now. It sounds like it's coming like right from beneath the pedals.
Okay. All right. So, that's one of those, that's in a way that's good. And that sounds like sort of when they jacked it up, maybe, it sort of rearranged something that was already a little bit worn. So it could be a sway bar that when it got jacked up, the sway bar moved more of an angle than it's normally used to, and it's maybe has some rust around the bushings. It also could be in that lower control arm that's there, and that is right about where sort of right under your feet. I wouldn't expect it to be at the top. So really at this point, the best thing to do to try to find out the noise, and really what I always found the best way was on a drive-on style lift. So not one where the suspension hangs like a normal frame contact lift, but a drive-on style lift like that's used in a lube shop or a front-end alignment machine, where you have all the weight of the car, and then you sort of have somebody bounce up and down in the car a little bit, and you just literally feel around and look for things that are squeaking and rattling and making noise. Could it be that when they jacked it up, the exhaust or the catalytic converter moved around a little bit, and that's the noise you're hearing? Maybe. But really a good solid visual inspection, and things that are starting to wear will leave like rust fingerprints almost. And if you look at things and you kind of look at it and you go, well, it looks like this little trail of rust or a little trail of metal, that lets you know that bushings are starting to wear, the metal part of the bushing inside, the rubber part of the bushing is starting to wear, things are starting to shift a little bit. Those are the areas that I would start to look at that could have happened as a result of not doing anything wrong to the vehicle, just jacking it up and putting all the weight on one side and then putting it back down. You may find that after, a week or two of driving it, all the noise kind of just settles back out and goes away.
So I think my mechanic doesn't do, like, he sends the car out for alignments and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So start with him, and then if an alignment guy is necessary, take it.
Yeah, and I don't think the alignment guy is necessary. It's just the style lift. Sometimes when you put a car on a lift and the wheels are all hanging, because a 2-post or 4-post lift with pads that contact the frame, they're the absolutely best kind of lift to work on, because you don't have to jack up the wheels separately. For everything's hanging, everything's there to work on. You can walk under the car, not hit your head on anything. It's great for undercarriage work. It's not always great. They're not always great for finding noises, and that's where a drive-on style lift sometimes really simulates what the car's like when it's on the road. So you're able to spot things that you might not spot when all the suspension's hanging. That's why I just actually prefer that style lift to look for noise. Hate that style lift if you needed to do exhaust or brake work or suspension work, because now all of a sudden you have to jack up the car. Well, it's already on a lift, which is a pain. But for ease of getting it on and off, drive-on style lift is great, and like I said, great for doing things like oil changes and stuff like that, but really good for finding these weird noises.
And I haven't tried since it got worse, but in the past I tried just like, pushing down on a corner of the car and listen. Is this
and that's hard to do, because you could make it make noise, but you couldn't be able to get to where the noise is coming from when you're sitting on top of the fender. So the idea of having maybe a helper kind of look under the car, put their hand on different parts that are moving, and really what you're doing is you're looking for that crunchy, squawky feel with your hand, and that's pretty hard to do when it's sitting on the car and the car is only 4 inches off the ground.
Yeah. All right.
So I would go back to your regular shop, which has been taking care of your car for a long time, and just say, hey, the same thing you just told me. Hey, I went to go get an inspection sticker. Now it's making more noise. Did they jack up? Did they jack up the car on the muffler? Who knows? Did they do something dumb, which is possible, or is it just a result the car got jacked up and the suspension's getting old and it rearranged things just because of more old age than anything else? Which, based on my old age, that could be it.
I understand.
All right. Take care, John.
Thanks, John.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Why don't we take a break? When we come back, we'll give away the Sparq diagnostic tool. Here's the rules. There is rules. There are rules. There are rules, not is rules. There are rules. You need to have an iPhone, because it only works with iPhones. So it only works with Apple iOS. I need to get your name, address, phone number, and email. So you need to have email. So name, address, phone number, email. And I don't even know why I need your phone number, but I do, I guess. Probably for FedEx purposes or however they mail it. So we'll have that. We'll be able to give that to the PR company that says they will mail it out. So they promised. All we can do is hope for the promise. So when we come back from our break, Jesse will think of a number, or I'll think of a number, and he'll magically know what it is. And then we'll give one away to whatever that caller is. How's that? My name's John Paul. This is the Car Doctor program. You're listening on 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
Even car geeks and do-it-yourselfers rely on AAA to give them extra peace of mind on the road. AAA offers 24/7 roadside assistance, whether you're in your own vehicle, a friend's car, or even a rental. Combine that with great rates on insurance, hotel, gas, and buying savings, and discounts on 8,700 brands, and you're covered on and off the road. Get a special membership offer today at AAA.com/join. That's AAA.com/join.
If you haven't called WATD's Blizzard of 78 hotline with your memories of the storm of the century, there's still time. 781-837-1978.
The train slid back down the track.
12 and a half miles he walked in all that snow.
The old movie theater was completely submerged in water and ice.
We had an old VW van, and it was about a foot over the van of just snow.
I had to feed my pigs and my chickens.
We ended up going out all day and getting stuff for people.
Spent a week and a half at the Taunton Armory, away from my family.
I didn't get out of my truck for 5 days.
Hear these stories and more as we remember the blizzard of 78, Thursday, February 6th at 10 a.m. on 95.9 WATD.
Hey there, folks. It's Quinn Kelly reminding you to tune in Sunday night at 5 for the South Shore's first voice in sports talk radio, The Sports Exchange. Unmatched coverage of local high school action as well as a relatable voice on all things Boston pro sports. We've got you covered live at 5 every Sunday night. Have a question for our host, missed last week's show, or just want to share a great sports story? You can find us on Twitter at SE on WATD. But remember, mark your calendar, folks, and we'll see you Sunday night at 5 for the Sports Exchange on 95.9 WATD.
Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program. The blizzard of 78, which Jesse wasn't even around to know what that was all about. I was working at Merchant's Tire Store in downtown Brockton. And we had just moved into our house in Abington somewhere a year or so, 2 years before, whatever it was. And it was getting to be pretty snowy in the middle of the afternoon. Our bosses said, nobody's coming in, go home. And we woke up to whatever it was, 1 million feet of snow. I don't know, it was a lot of snow. And it is the only time in my life I ever collected unemployment because there was some special deal where if you were out of work, you could actually put in for unemployment, which I guess I did. It wasn't much to it. They just did it, I think. And we were out of work for a week. And even when we came back, what was somewhat frustrating is the building we were in was next to a municipal parking lot where they decided to put all the snow in the driveway of Merchant's Tire Store. So we literally had to shovel our way out to be able to get cars in and out of that door. There was also a big door on the other street that was able to get in and out. But it was a little bit awkward because that was my door. That's the door I worked out of. And it was a kind of, the shop-style building just had 2 doors and bays for, I don't know, half a dozen cars, whatever it was. And it was kind of funny that after a couple of days of being home, my wife said to me, who worked at Stop and Shop, said, I'm going to work. And I said, well, you're not supposed to be on the road. And she got stopped by the police on the way to work. And they said, it's only necessary vehicles on the road. And she looked at the police officer and said, hey, look, I work in a supermarket. If you want food, I need to go to work. And he said, let me escort you to the supermarket, which was nice. And so, yeah, that was blizzard of 78 was pretty dramatic. And, have we seen snow like that before? I kind of probably, I don't know. But that one kind of caught everybody by surprise. So blizzard of 78. Well, we have a few minutes left of the program here. And if you would like the Sparq diagnostic tool, which is a and if you want to look it up, it's Sparq with a Q at the end. But if you would like one, and it's a artificial intelligence tool, so it helps you fix your car, which I didn't use. I used my own intelligence trying to fix the Volkswagen, by the way. But if you would like one, Jesse, what number call?
78 for the blizzard of 78.
We don't
have time.
We don't have time for that.
Yeah.
How about
let's go with 7?
Oh, let's go with 7. All right. So the 7th caller, if you're the 7th caller, and again, rules: name, address, phone number, email, and you need to have an iPhone. So those things, and also you want one. You're somebody who says, I want to get one of those. I thought that'd be cool. And if you want to buy one, they had a deal going now where all you had to do was pay shipping and handling, which was pretty cool too. So, but you can check it out if you want to find out more information about it. Again, it is Sparq Diagnostic is how you look for it, and and it's compatible with vehicles 2010 or newer. So join Sparq, SPARQ.com to learn more about it. But we're giving one away. So to the, not really the 78th caller, but right now you can get this, you can basically get what they're saying is $499 off. So all you got to do is sign up. And honestly, they're looking for more people to use this thing so they can tweak it and make it work better. But you can buy it for just shipping and handling. But for us, you can get it for free. So all you have to do is be not the 78th caller, but Jesse will say which one it is. So, and I'm willing to bet, because the thousands of people that listen to this program probably have a winner already. But maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to wait to see. One of the questions I've gotten, I think I've gotten the question like 5 times this week, is as people are inundated with emails and social media posts about night vision glasses, Night Eagle, something like that. There's a whole series of different names for these things. Basically, they're yellow tinted glasses. And they are, what I noticed is every email I get is from a different company trying to sell them. So I think it's just really another TikTok shop that's set up where people are trying to buy, people buy these things from, I don't know, Temu or Alibaba, and they repackage them and resell them. Maybe they don't even repackage them, because all the ads are the same, but all the companies are different. So I think it's just someone trying to sell something for $19.95 or $29.95. And science says they don't work. If you talk to ophthalmologists and Google online, like real eye doctors kind of thing, you will find that it says they don't work. My very non-scientific study shows that I tried them years ago. They're yellow tinted glasses, is basically all they are. They didn't do a thing for me. I was talking to one of our driving instructors at AAA one day, and she had them in her hand, and she said, oh, they work great. But she also said they only seem to work good on people with blue and hazel eyes. So something about eye color might make a difference. My advice is, if you wear glasses and you drive at night, get the anti-reflective coating. That seems to work better. Well, congratulations to John M. in Melrose. He just won the Sparq diagnostic tool, and we will contact the company who will take your name and address and send it out. And again, join Sparq, SPARQ.com, to find out more information. If you want to buy one at a deeply discounted price, you can do that too. Jesse, did we have 5 million phone calls?
There was exactly 78 phone calls.
78. Very good. Very good. I'm glad you kept track, just for all those purposes. So, yeah. So, in the next few weeks, we're going to be talking to somebody who's done some research on a car museum. I thought that was kind of interesting. So we'll see what that's up. Also, the merchants leasing people reached out to me. They have a new CEO up there, and they were very interesting because they're the company that really tries to teach other companies how to work within an electric vehicle fleet. And apparently the new CEO is, in the words of the PR company that reached out to me, quite the petrol head. So we'll find out how much EV versus gasoline stuff he likes, and we'll fill you all in on that kind of stuff. So we got a lot going on. And of course, if you're involved in any kind of car club type event locally, or you're listening to this on the podcast, drop me an email and say, hey, can you promote my event? And my email is jpaul@aaanortheast.com. Always happy to try to promote things. And again, if you have questions that don't get answered during the week, same email, jpaul@aaanortheast.com. I answer every single email I get, and I get a lot, but I answer every single one. Sometimes my answers are short. I will admit that. Somebody emailed me the other day, and I responded with a one-word answer, and it was only because I think I was on the phone trying to deal with an issue, and I got back to them and said, sorry about the short answer. But I gave them a full answer. I think we are out of time, are we not, Jesse?
Sure are.
We are. Look at that. So until next week, make sure you wear your seatbelt, drive safely, be good to your car, and if you see an emergency vehicle by the side of the road, slow down or move over. It saves lives. Talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.